So chess is a very complicated game, but it can be simplified understanding the basic moves, tactics, and strategies. And that can be a key part in conquering the game. Today, we are joined with Wilson Gao. First off, I just wanted to start off by asking you, what got you interested in?
I think 6 when my dad brought back like a board game set. Like it has like different board games like Snakes and Ladders or Chinese checkers, for example. But I remember my favorite game in that set was chess. And like ever since like that moment, I don't know, I started playing a lot of chess. I'm not really sure why I liked it so much, but yeah, here I am. So yeah.
And so I guess I want to ask you, what's your rating right now?
My rating I believe is 1809 right now.
Okay, so for people that don't know how rating works, that's very high. So how did you go from a beginner to 1809?
Well, it's a lot of studying, a lot of practice. First of all, like I've read books on like, for example, like opening theory. And besides that, I also like just played a lot of games because like it has like you just get experience, and there's just some things that could just come more naturally to you, and therefore makes you become a better player. And also, for example, I did things like puzzles, which are always just like fun to do, and like they, I guess, hone your calculation skills. So yeah.
Yeah. And I see a lot of medals behind you. Could you tell us some of your accomplishments in chess?
Oh, to be honest, I don't really like remember a lot of them anymore because it's
There's
been a
so
while.
many he
But
doesn't remember.
yeah, yeah. But I do remember in 6th grade, I was ranked within the top 100 like chess players in my grade in the nation. And besides that, I participated in a few national tournaments, like where like it would be like just like competing against people of the same grade level also. And then I remember I in a few of those I was within the top 50. And besides that, well, what else? I once won the Missouri State like chess championship. I believe that was, I forgot what grade that was in though. But yeah, so those are just a few. Like besides that, I've also like won a lot of like local tournaments and competed in like some tournaments for like money. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I guess overall, how has chess helped you in life?
Huh? Well, like having played chess for like what, more than 10 years now, I guess it's just the calculation, like the concentration. That's I think really the most important part of chess because I think like chess was what really allowed me to, I guess, develop my, I guess, I don't know, my habit of, I guess, just doing things all in one go, I guess you could say in that way. Like I don't easily get distracted with like a lot of things, and for example, like when I'm doing homework or things like that, I just tend to get it done, and I'm like, okay, and just move on with it. So yeah, I think that's like the most important contribution of chess, like to me at least. So yeah.
Yeah. And so now we are going to, I guess, give a explanation to, I would say this video is for beginners that know kind of how to play. So a quick summary, I guess you could explain how the pieces move really fast.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so pawns they begin by like they can only move forward in a sense that okay, so at the starting position, like they can move 2 squares or 1 square forward, doesn't matter. Like yeah, for example. But once you move the pawn once, like from the starting position, then it can only move 1 square up, like each time. And then like the way they capture is that they capture diagonally, actually. So it's different from like having move. So yeah, like, they capture diagonally. So that's how the pawns work basically. As for the bishop, they just move in diagonals. They can't jump over pieces or anything like that, but that's how they move, and they also capture in the same way. And then as for knights, they move in an L shape, as in like 2 squares over 1 square, like up or wherever. I mean, I guess if that makes sense. And also, that's the same way they capture it that way too, and they can jump over other pieces, like while moving the L shape. And then as for rooks, they can move either horizontally or vertically, and they also capture in that way, but they can't like jump over pieces or anything like that. And then in the queen moves like similar to a rook and a bishop combined, in that it can move both horizontally and vertically as well as on diagonals. So like in that sense, it's like the most powerful piece because it's the most versatile. And then finally the king, which is like the most important piece because like it determines like the outcome of the game basically. Anyway, so the king can only move in one square around it, but it can't like move. Obviously, it can't move anywhere to where a piece is already there, unless it's like it's capturing a piece. But yeah, so basically, if the king cannot move anywhere, and it's like currently being threatened by another piece, like being in threat of capture, then that's called checkmate, basically, and that means that like the game has ended, and then the player whose king cannot move has lost. So yeah.
So an example of that is here. So the king cannot move here is what he's trying to say, because you can't block with this or this. Yeah. And quickly add to that is a lot of times I see beginners when I just started playing, they don't know that you can block a checkmate or take the piece. They just kind of run the king out. So that's another thing, is there's 3 ways to block, deal with the check, is to just block, tech capture, or to just run away. I guess now for people that actually do play some chess, I wanted to kind of get into some theory here. I guess for people that, I would say under 1,000 level, somewhere around there, people that want to, learn some openings and tactics, do you have any recommendations for openings?
Yeah, so for whites, like especially for beginners, I'd say the easiest opening to learn is probably the Italian game. So basically it starts with e4, e5. Yeah, okay, so that's like chess notation, but I'm not sure if, okay, but anyways, it's being shown on the board. But actually, knight f3, knight f3.
It's knight f3 first?
Yeah,
Oh,
knight
I always
f3.
play it the other way. Okay. Then,
okay.
do they do this? Yeah, they probably defend.
Yeah. And then bishop there. Yeah.
The Italian.
Okay, so this is the Italian game. It's well known for being like really, I guess, quiet in that like there isn't like a bunch of like, I don't know, tactics and like calculation. It's mostly just develop your pieces, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle game and yeah, you're free to go. And so it's pretty hard to make mistakes in this opening. That's why it's pretty easy for beginners to learn it. So like the basic theory behind it is that white will play eventually will play c3 and then d4. If you look on the board, there's like the C A B C D E F G etc. 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, that's like how notation works.
Castle.
Yeah, I mean, basically, sure, castling is fine. Basically, you just develop pieces. Everyone's happy. And then from then on, it's just like mainly positional game. So yeah. That's what I'd recommend for at least beginners for white.
Honestly, I'm a big fan. Yeah, I played Italian game a little bit. I liked it a lot because I think first the whole point, real quick, of bishop c4 is to attack the weak pawn here at some point, and like this diagonal is also really powerful. A lot of openings want bishop c4. Is that why? Is it because of the weak pawn there, or?
I mean, definitely that's a part of it. It's not like in games that it will actually be exploited though. I mean, like one famous line though is like the fried liver, right? Yeah. But
for context, fried liver is where knight goes here and they make a move like this. They think they're booting the piece, and you go here, you're forking the queen and the rook, so they must lose one. And even if the queen and rook are able to move, they're still going to have to lose one, and the king can't take because of the bishop here. So yeah, that's the fried liver attack. And I think that's a really OP for just beginners itself, because they have no clue what's coming, honestly. But yeah. What do you think about, I was going to ask you, what do you think about a Danish Gambit for beginners?
The Danish Gambit, ooh. Typically, I wouldn't suggest like outright gambits for beginners, because gambits mean that like you lose material. Like by definition, it means you lose material. And usually that like well, it's a couple pawns, sure. But in exchange, like that, like in order to like make up for the lost material, you usually have like some counterplay. That's like the term. As in like your pieces are active, you're attacking, whatever. And the reason why I wouldn't really suggest like gambits in general for beginners, because that beginners often have a hard time of actually like using that counterplay. Like because it's much easier to have pieces like take pieces than play like just keep momentum and keep on trying to attack. Because I think it's much easier to keep material in that way for beginners than to actually like convert their advantage. So that's why I would recommend it, at least. But obviously, if you prepared, like if you know your lines, then by all means play a gambit if you want to.
Right.
But if you're like just starting out, I wouldn't really recommend trying to go for a gambit right away.
I don't like any of the other gambits for some reason. I just kind of love the Danish Gambit. I don't know. It's just is like because I guess the whole point of the opening is to develop, and it's kind of a way for you to just develop way ahead of them. For reference, Danish Gambit is you play d4, which makes no sense, the point of the gambit, and then you play c3, letting them take again, and then you move the bishop out here. So this is a common move in many openings, and then I let them take again. Another line is to just take off here and then go bishop c4 later. But I let them take here because I really like this that forms. A lot of times, a lot of beginners, they move the bishop too early, and this allows for this, which they don't see, get tunnel vision for. So that's why I really like it. And then usually the move after is just knight f3 and castle, something like that. But you can see here, you have like 2 straight diagonals, and their development, they're doing nothing. So that's the Danish Gambit. So do you have any suggestions for black? So
Black.
yeah, so I heard somewhere that if like 2 equal players are playing, white's always supposed to win because they go for.
I'm not sure about that because right now chess is still not a solved game, and
Right.
even if you say they're equal players, like chess, I think like from personal experience, there's still a chance of luck in chess, and that like I don't know, it's maybe an off day. You just like maybe not see something, maybe you're tired or maybe you're hungry, who knows? And like if you just delay one bad move, like usually more often than not, that's usually what determines the game, just one bad move.
Right.
So I mean not chess. White certainly does have an advantage. I won't dispute that. Like most computers give like at the starting position, they give like plus 0.3, which means like they have 0.3 points. Like if a pawn's 1 point, then white has 0.3 of a pawn, if that makes sense. But so like just I guess because they have the first move, they can like develop pieces obviously faster because they had the first move. But so that's like at the super high level. Usually the mentality has become white. When you're playing white, you try to win, and when you're playing black, you try to draw. That's like the general mentality. Yeah. So I think it's a good rule to stick by. And at most high level games, like I'd say 95% of them are draws. So at like lower levels, anything can happen. To be honest, like white's first move advantage doesn't really mean anything. At least that's like from experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Usually white's first move is e4. What's a recommendation you give for beginners against e4?
For beginners, ooh. I mean, the calmest opening would just be e5, I think. Yeah.
This isn't quite like an opening, right? Because honestly,
No.
I never play e5 because it allows them to do stuff. Like, I don't know. Because like I think I don't know. I like playing
Kann, yeah.
Because like it doesn't let them do it. You know, like it. They usually have some kind of tactics for e5. You know, like the Italian game is from e5, and then Caro you just kind of have to play. For context, Caro is when you basically build this pawn structure like this, starting off with c6. So they exchange. If they want to exchange, they can, or they can advance. The typical line is to go here, but actually I like doing this. I don't know if this is good. I don't know what you'd say about this. Letting them take, because then you can develop this, and immediately as they bring the knight out, you just pin it. And then later when they develop, you can just do this and then just take this. And now you're kind of developed, and also you're equal in material. So that's the, because I don't know, I just don't really like this way of where they're like, you know, right there. So this blocks it off. But yeah, would you recommend Caro for beginners, or no? Is that more advanced?
Caro. Ooh, to be honest, I've never played Caro as black before, so it's not like I'm like an expert in this area. But from like as playing against it as white, the Caro tends to be like really positional. I guess similar to the Italian game in that like there's not a lot of tactics involved with the opening. So like if a beginner wants to learn it, sure, I mean by all means you can go for it, because I don't think it requires that much like thinking. In that like you don't have to worry about like traps or whatever. So like if you want to learn it, then go, sure. It is a calm opening, and more often than not, like beginners, like other beginners, won't really know what to do against the Caro because it's not that popular of an opening. And so like if your opponent doesn't know what to do, obviously, then you can have your own lines where hopefully you can have an advantage, whatever you like, taking material, or I don't know, just having a good position in general. So yeah.
Yeah. And is there a specific, you just recommend e5 for beginners mainly?
I mean, it is like the most common
opening
for beginners.
Let's see. I wanted to also quickly quick go over 4-move checkmate. At the
Uh,
beginner level, it's honestly when I played on chess.com, I think I won half my games just on that because it's hard to see from Black's perspective, right? When you're starting the game, you just kind of expect to develop. You don't see that. I guess could you explain the 4-move checkmate to people that aren't?
yeah. Okay, so the 4-move checkmate takes advantage of the weakness on f7. So basically, white moves his pawn forward 2 squares, so e4, yeah, and black moves like some, and then white immediately moves like bishop c4, attacking this f7. And let's say black moves like something random, knight c6, for example. Yeah. So now white plays queen h5.
Is
Or
it
queen,
h5 or it could be f3 too, right?
yeah, it can be f3, but h5 is usually like the default one. But yeah.
Default one. Yeah. I feel
So
like
queen,
the thing with
no,
h5, in my opinion, is
it's
like
easier
I,
to see.
I think a lot of people just play this, and because they have their knight there, you can't really take this and do that trick.
That's true. Okay.
But yeah, you could. So yeah, let's just do e5 first.
Okay, so assuming they don't play it, assuming they, let's say knight f6, yeah. So the 4-move checkmate now is just queen takes f7, and that's me.
And they can't go here because the queen there you can't take because of the bishop there. So yeah.
Yeah. So
And if you want to win your game fast, like I've had moments on chess.com where I'm like really mad and I just want to beat this guy really quickly, then you just kind of try the 4-move checkmate. Don't work, it doesn't work, but you have to try it. Another way is f3, and if they make a move like maybe this to open up the bishop, I don't know, then you go checkmate again. It's just you're attacking that square. Do you think bringing the queen out early is a good thing for beginners?
ooh, that's a tough question. I'd say there are certainly advantages and disadvantages to doing so. The advantages obviously are you have a powerful piece on the board, you can attack a bunch of things. But then again, like disadvantage is that it oftentimes gets kicked around a lot by like lesser pieces.
Yeah.
And because like you don't want to lose like your most powerful piece, obviously you have to move it around a lot. So that becomes quite a hassle.
Yeah.
Generally I'd say you should first develop your minor pieces before you get your queen out.
Yeah.
Just because like your minor pieces are harder to get out in the first place, like your queen can just move out of one square and boom, it's already out. Right. But like the knight, for example, has to move quite a few squares before it can like truly become like part of the game. So yeah.
Honestly, I'm still on chess.com. I play 1300s all the time, and they just bring the queen out early, just like this. Like, I don't know. And I guess the point is there's moves that are like really cheese. Like, you can't do this. This is bad because check here and here. But the thing is, it's also really easy to defend. So you want to because this happens a lot. You want to quickly explain the best way to defend this?
Yeah, just knight c6.
Knight c6.
Defending the e5 pawn. Is that under attack?
And then if they, I don't know, they probably developed, I don't even know what they do here. Then I think you want to kick the queen out. So this is good for Black because they've developed their piece while attacking the queen. So, and the White's, I think White's underdeveloped compared to Black.
I mean, like the contention gives Black has a pawn.
Yeah, Black has a pawn. So yeah, so that's why I think it's really bad, but I think it could work for beginners because honestly, I'll be honest, I think I made this move about 5 times. Fell for the same trick like 5 times. Ended up resigning, but yeah, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for your time today.
Yeah,
that was well appreciated. And I guess also, what are your tips for students to go from novice to pro?
Well, I guess first of all, just be prepared to spend a lot of time. Chess is not something that you just play once and all of a sudden, boom, like you're a prodigy or whatever. So like, I think if you want to like seriously get better at chess, then first of all, just study, like get books on chess. Make sure to like actually read them. Like don't just like skim them and be like, I understand this, because half the time even I do that. And then like, to be honest, you can't understand a chess book without actually like thinking about what they're talking about. And like more often than not, that like it means that you should literally have a chessboard out in front of you, like where you like play their moves, what they're saying, and like try to think about what they're talking about. And then besides that, I think the number one tip is just play a lot of games. Like you can't like supplement experience from actually playing a game from start to finish and like knowing your own mistakes and like trying to improve yourself at chess. So those are like definitely like how that's my advice.